Hello and welcome back everyone, it's puzzle time with Sudoku Sleuth, and today we're playing Fruit Flies Like a Banana. I mean, it really should read, Fruit Flies Love a Banana, because bananas are absolutely phenomenal fruits. And here you can see Sleuth is sitting down to have breakfast, with a bowl of bananas right in front of him and a fly very tempted by them. And just look at the facial expression of Sleuth, he's freaking out about it. I can understand that it is his bananas, not the flies. So, perfectly legitimate reaction in my view. Let's take a look at today's puzzle. So, Fruit Flies Like a Banana by IAlreadyHaveAKey. Still absolutely love this handle. And quite refreshing to have rules that can all appear on the screen at once and be somewhat legible for you phone users as well. Well, rule sets. Normal Sudoku rules apply. That means place the digits 1 to 9 once each in every row, in every column, and in every 3x3 box. This is why we're all here. We have digits on an arrow must sum to the digits in the arrow circle. Let's take a look at this arrow, for example. If these were 2 and 3, the sum of what's on the arrow is 5, and that's what would have to appear in the circle. We've got a few of these, such as another one there. Fairly lengthy double one. So obviously count this as one sum, and the sum has to be equal here because it's got the same sum in the circle. What else do we have? Digits in cages must sum to the total given in the top left corner of the cage. We've got a 13 cage here in these 4 cells, a 14 cage in these 4 cells, and a 12 cage down here. Well, be a good way of trying to show this. So let's imagine that these are 3, 4, and 5. They already add up to 12. To get to 14, which is the ask here in this cage, well, you have to add a 2 in there. Lastly, what else do we have? Is it lastly? No. We've got 2 more rules to go. First, clues outside the grid indicate the sum of all the digits along the indicated diagonal. So one example here is the 24 cage, and what that's saying is all of these cells must sum up to 24. 9 of them summing up to 24. 20 in this diagonal's case. So read into this what you may. Lastly, we have digits separated by an x must sum to 10. So for example, these 2 cells are separated by an x. If this was 2, to make sure that they add up to 10, this would have to be an 8. You can see there's a few others in there. You know, another x, and another x. Now, one thing that IAlreadyHaveAKey hasn't stated is whether all the x's are given or not, and I'm going to say they aren't. So in my mind, nothing wrong with me having something like as follows, where these 2 digits add up to 10 without an x between them. So no negative constraints are kind of apply, and this would be perfectly fine according to the rule set. That's my interpretation. If I get stuck, I'll rethink it. So only thing left to say really is to advise you, if you enjoy your bananas, go and rescue them from those fruit flies. Have them to yourself rather than the fruit flies having them for you. And with that said, well, of course, you can play along in this particular puzzle with the link in the description down below. And with that said, I'm going to restart the clock and see how I get on. So you can see I very deliberately ignored the 20 diagonal when I was explaining the rules. That's because it lies on this huge arrow. And I'll tell you what I'm thinking so far. So essentially what we have is 3x. And I think that may seem a bit abstract, so I'm just going to do a bit of coloring. All of the sums of these 3 segments, the blue, the yellow, and the red, are all the same. That's really the definition of the arrow sum. And because they're all the same, it means we have 3 lots of whatever the value is in yellow. So it immediately puts an absolute ceiling on what this number can be, because if it's any higher than 6, let's say it's 7, I've already got 7, another 7, that's 14, another 7, that's 21. I've already broken a diagonal, let alone without these 2 cells. Now, this isn't, 6 is the ceiling, it's not necessarily the bottom. Normally when you look at 3 cells, you'd be thinking, oh, well, 1, 2, 3, that's the absolute minimum. I can put a 6 in here and world is good. And that may be true, but remember, they actually don't have to be unique here. So let me think this through. What does that mean? So the minimum I can make this, of course, would be 1 and 2 with a 1. That would be 3. That would be 4. Can't repeat the same trick on this side, though, because that would be a minimum of 2, given I've already placed a 1 in the box. So I think 1 and 2 here with a 2, and then 1 and 3 with a 1. That would give me 4 and 5, 3 and 2. So I can actually be as low as 6. Right. If it is 5, that would be 15. And then I have 2 cells in here that add up to 5. And that would actually work. I can have something like a 3 in here and a 2 in there. That works to get us to 20. And in fact, it's almost like with the minimums of 1 and 2 in here, that is at least a minimum of 3. And with 1 and 3 in here, I can sneak in a 2, but obviously anything bigger would break the puzzle. So having something like this with a 5 actually seems to work quite well. And I'm actually tempted to see, does it even work for a 6? Because I think the answer is no. And the reason is, if I put a 6 in here, let's have a think about this. That means these are 18. That means these 2 must be 1s to add up to 20. Now, with a 1 in here, what's the minimum I can make these? That's 2, 3. Well, 2, 3 is a 5. That's a 1 to get to a 6. I can't repeat the same trick, though. 2, 3 with a 1 in here. Well, I've just duplicated the 1. So the minimum I can make this would be 2, and I've broken the puzzle. So a long way of saying, I think this has to be a 5. Because 6 is actually too big. Now, I did come up with an example, an absolutely minimal example, where it's 1, 3 with a 1, kind of a 2, and a 1, 2. I'm just trying to think if there's really any other way of doing it. And I think the answer to that is no. And then we were left with 2 and 3, if you remember. So I kind of think this is actually correct. That this is 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 2, 3 again, 8 and 9. And this is forced. Now, this is probably where the 14 and 12 cages help. I say probably because I'm not too sure. I'm just having to think about it. You see, the minimum I can make these now is 4 and 5 because I've already used 1, 2, and 3. So I'm already at 9. These can only be a 1 and 2 because I have a remainder of 3. And that's the absolute minimum that you can actually have in 2 cells. So that becomes 1, that becomes 2, that becomes 3. The 2 in here tells me that this becomes a 3. This becomes a 1, 2 pair. The 1, 2 pair ends up with a 2 in here, a 1 in there, yep, and therefore 9 and 8. Fascinating. Now, 14 cage, do I have more degrees of freedom? You see, because I've already placed 1, 2, and 3, the minimum I can make these now is 4 and 5 again. But now these add up to 12, forcing me to place... Actually, I can do something like 4, 5, and 6, surely. So I could do 3, 4, 6, which adds up to 13 with a 1. The only thing that I can confirm is there's definitely a 4 in here. I'm finding this very interesting. I'm sort of making a lot of leaps, and I feel like I haven't necessarily discounted other possibilities, but I'm fairly confident of the choices I've made right now. I think we've shown these can only be 2 and 3. The answer is yes, because these have to be 15. These 2 cells must add up to 5. The fact that it's an odd digit, the 5, I mean, means that these two cells are obviously going to be different. Now, the question I'm trying to answer to myself is, what's wrong with 1 and 4 as an example? Surely I could do that, but I think the answer is no, because I have to have 1s on these branches that are in boxes of 7 and box 3. Because I can't have, as soon as I remove 1s as an option, then the minimum would be 2 and 3. And when it's the minimum is 2 and 3 and I have a 2 already in the middle, that already is way too big. That doesn't add up to 5 anymore. That's already at 7. So because I have to have a 1 on either side, that rules out 1 and 4. That does become 2 and 3. The fact that I have kind of 1 and 2 as a minimum in here, essentially, these two branches always have to be 1, 2, and 3. Minimum 4, 5 means this is fixed. This has to be the 1 in here and the 2, and therefore the 3 on this side, and therefore the 1 and the 9. Have a few more degrees of freedom in the 14 cage. So with this 2, that gives me the 3, and then as we've demonstrated, the 1 and 2 are not necessarily forced. Lovely break-in. I already have a key. It's making me kind of think a few more times before I sort of fully accept it. So the question is, where do I go next? And I'm tempted to think about the 24. I mean, let's just have a think about all the clues that we have. So the 13 cage and the 24 cage feels like the only legitimate next step from everything that we have on here. And I'm just thinking about the 24 cage. So if this is 6, this is 6, that's already 12. And the minimum I can make this is 12 again. 3, 4, 5, because 1 and 2 are not available. So this is actually forced. This is 1, 2, 3. This is 1, 2, 3. This is 3, 4. And therefore, I guess this is 6, 7. Yep. And I'm sure I could do a bit more than this, such as not 3, not 1, not 1, not 2, not 3 either. That is a 1. That's not a 1. Not a 3, not a 2. That is a 1. That's a 2. That's a 3. That 2 gives me the order. This is a 1. This is a 2. The fact that this is a 2 now, not a 1, tells me this is 4, 5. We've lost our degree of freedom, because that's 9 plus 5, that is 14. We're at 4 here. We need 9 in there. And 1, 8 is not available. 2, 7 is not available. 3, 6 is not available. I believe this is also 4, 5. Just double checking my math. So 12 with 1, yeah, that's 13. This is all correct. That 2 gives me the 3, the 2. And we have these 4, 5 pairs that I'm not entirely certain how we're going to break it. I'm guessing a 4, 5 either in box 8 or box 6 to help sort of break these, I don't know what you would even call it, sort of X-wing, almost. Anyhow, joking aside, let's just carry on. So this is not 1, 9, not 3, 7. So essentially it's 2, 8 or 6, 4. It's not a 6, 4 because we've got a 4, 5 pair. This is a 2, 8. Fairly sure that can't be the 8. Yes, because 1 is not available, and therefore this would blow up. I mean, the minimum would actually be a 6 in here, because 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 are all gone. So this is in fact the 2. This is the 8. This is not actually a 6, it's a 7, because 2 and 6 would add up to 8, which is not available. This needs to be a 9. This is a 7. That gives me the 6, gives me the 7. Haven't resolved the 3, 4 yet, but keep going. Let's think about this one, because it also has an X on it. So this is not 2 or 3. So 1, 9 would be possible, with 1 in here and 9 there. Another possibility would be 4, 6. And because we don't have the 4, 5 pair that we did in column 2, 4, 6 is actually plausible. I'll place a 6 here and a 4 there. I think because 2, 8, and 3, 7 are not available, these are all the options. Now, if this is 1, 2 and 3 are gone. 4 would be the minimum that I can place in here, but that would break. 1 and 4 would place a 5, and that would break this cell. So I couldn't even place a 4 in here. Presumably, I can place a 5, though, with a 6. I can place a 6 with a 7. I can't do 7, 8, and obviously I cannot do 9. So far this is 5 or 6, and 6 and 7. If this is a 6, however, with a 4, well, the 5 is also gone. I'm going to say I have to place a 1 to get to 7. And the reason I'm saying that is the next minimum digit, if it's not 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6, would be 7, and 6 and 7 is 13, clearly way too big. So one of these for sure is a 1. I was expecting to make a bit more progress, unless there's something there that I'm not seeing. You know, highly plausible, of course. Have a look at this one. Again, I'm fairly sure this has to have a 1. So we've got 2, 3, 4, and 5 all gone from this arrow sum. So the minimum I can put in here is 6 and 7 if 1 is not involved. That's nonsense. That's 13. So that's 1. This is 6 or 7, and therefore this is 7 or 8. So these 3 cells are 6, 7, 8. You know, it keeps happening recently where you feel like you've got such a beautiful break in, and it's all going to flow fairly smoothly afterwards, but the puzzle keeps fighting on. So no, this arrow doesn't work anywhere near as well, because we got 1 and 3 don't even have a 4, 5 pair. So this can be as low as 2 and 4, for example, to make a 6. Right, there is clearly something I am missing that I need to think a little bit harder about. Some classic Sudoku, maybe, for example, means this is a 1. There is no 1 in here. I mean, we knew that. There's a 1 in one of 2 cells there. In fact, that 1, Sleuth, come on. Right. It still leaves us with 5, 6, and 6, 7, but that's fine. I'm sure a few of you were screaming at your screens for that one. But hey, we got there. Just long way round. 2s. That's a 2. There's a 2 in one of 2 cells in here. And presumably, yeah, 2 in one of 2 cells there. 3s, nowhere near as much. Yeah, I don't necessarily want to pencil mark a 3 in here and 3 here. It doesn't really buy me much. 3 there and 3 here. I mean, I can, it's just I don't really think it's buying me anything. And then 4s, 5s, etc. Okay. Let's see. With the 1 and 9 placed, how does that help? Should we think about this one? If this is not a 2, yeah, this is a 2. Because if it's not a 2, well, 1, 2, and 3 are gone. And I can't actually have a 4, 5. The minimum would be 4 and 6, and this would be 10. So that's a 2. That's not a 2. That's not a 2. That's a 2. And yeah, we're back to this 4, 5 giving me a ton of options. So let's just think about, well, how many do I have? I seem to have all of these for all of these options. Not great. At least 2s are done. One of these 2 cells is a 9. So we have 6, 7, 8, 9 between here. Pardon me, I'm just trying to take it all in to think around, what am I missing? Sort of make a bit of progress. So the arrow sums are done, the X's are done, the cages are basically, again, done, and the killer clues are also done. So really, we're just left with classic Sudoku to make a bit of progress. Let me have a think around, what may I be missing? I know that this digit can be placed. It is in fact a 6, which gives me a 7, gives me a 6. That's helpful. That removes a 7 from here and therefore removes a 5 from there. Less helpful, but I'll take it. I mean, this is starting to look pretty close. I mean, I can't put the second 4, 5 in here, so this is the second 4, 5. And this is another one I can place. That's an 8. What does 8 do? 8 is placed. Yeah, not sure about this one, but okay. So 4, 5, we said this is from 6, 7, 8, and 9. I mean, these are now 6, 7, or 9. Where can 8 go in row 2? It can only be in here. It gives me a 7 and a 6, 9 pair. They're not resolved yet, but this is steady progress. I'll take it. That places an 8 here in box 7. That's not an 8. I mean, I've sort of spotted these 8s and 9s and 7s. It's just not really thinking they're useful yet, and I still maintain that. So in here we've got 4, 5, and 9. This is 4, 5 because it can't be a 9. This is 4, 9. And this is, well, all of them, 4, 5, and 9. We actually know what these are. This is 7 and 9. That's probably helpful. That places 9 on this side. That actually places a 9 here, taking away one of the 3 spots. This is now 3, 4, 5. That is probably worthwhile pencil marking. That's 4, 5. 3, 4, 5. Can't have another 4, 5 up here. So that's 4, 5 as well. I know what these are now. These are 3 and 6. That 6 gives me an order. That's a 6, that's a 3, that's a 4, that's a 3. That's not a 3. Neither is this one. That's a 3. We know what these are. That includes a 5. I mean, which will be immensely helpful. Let's just say it's 5 and 8 for now, which gives me a 4 and gives me another thing in here. I mean, that gives me 5, 4, and a 7. The 4 was less than helpful. Sort of on the lookout for 4, 5s, because, you know, they're everywhere. And anything that can help me resolve them, I'm game. Right, we can actually place whatever this digit is. It's a 6, and therefore this is a 7, just to complete the row. Sorry, column in this case. I know what these 2 cells are. They are 7 and 9. Still don't know which one they are. Okay. I know what these are. Well, that's not a 3 for sure, but is that 3, 4, 5? That's not a 7. That's a 9. That's a 7. That's a 9. That's a 6. These are indeed 3, 4, 5. Although I spotted a 4 looking at a 5. And therefore this is a 3. Neither of these are 3. Got 4 and 5. Look at this 6 kind of being eliminated. This is 4, 5, 7. That's not a 3. That is the 3. That's not a 3 either. In here we need an 8 and a 6, I'm going to say. No 5. Sorry, it's just I was looking at this thinking, hang on, these 3 should be forming a triplet, and they didn't. So that's 4, 7. That's looking at a 4, 5. That's a 5. That's a 4. That's a 9. That is 4. Breaking, finally, this 4, 5 setup that was here. And all the way around. 2 and 4 gives me a 6 in here, which gives me an 8 and a 6. The 7 gives me the 9. I think we're basically done it now. 5 gives me the 8, the 5, the 6, the 5. And what do I need in here? I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I need 8 and 9. That's the 8. And if I've not made any mistakes, that's the 9 for the finish. Beautiful puzzle. I already have a key. I think that's the second one we featured from I Already Have a Key, and they've both been phenomenal. So I think where I seem to regularly struggle is when you always have that fusion of Sudoku variants and classic, and you need to be using both throughout the solve. You know, it's just the way that I tend to solve is I look at the variants, use all the clues that were given, then fall back to classic, and this really doesn't seem to work in some puzzles. So I probably need to try and feature more puzzles from I Already Have a Key until I just accept that classic Sudoku belongs here, at least in these variants. Hope that you guys enjoyed the puzzle. It was more of a challenge than it should have been for me. And maybe you liked the video as well. I can imagine a few bits you were just shouting at your screen thinking, Sleuth, come on, Sudoku blindness is really struck here. But bye-bye for now. See you in the next video.